The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. 12 empty chairs stood in a circle, each one belonging to a species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Once, this room had been filled with voices, arguments, and the sound of laws being made. Now, dust covered everything. Counselor Vethra walked slowly through the abandoned chamber. His 4 legs clicked against the stone floor. He was old now, older than any of his kind had ever been. His green scales had turned gray with age. His eyes, once sharp and proud, now carried only sadness. He stopped at one of the smaller chairs. It had belonged to the human representative. Vethra remembered the day humans first came to this hall. They had seemed so small, so weak, so temporary. Short-lived creatures, the council had called them. Humans rarely live past 100 years. To species that live for thousands of years, this seemed like nothing. How could such brief creatures matter? How could they build anything lasting? The council had been wrong. So terribly wrong. Vethra closed his eyes and remembered. 300 years ago, humanity had discovered faster than light travel. They spread across the stars like fire across dry grass. They built colonies on 100 worlds. They were loud, emotional, and always in a hurry. The council found them annoying. So the council made rules. Humans could only settle on the worst planets. They paid the highest taxes. They received the fewest rights. When humans complained, the council laughed. What could these short-lived creatures do? In a few generations, they would learn their place. But humans never learned their place. They argued. They pushed. They demanded respect. The council ignored them. Then, 200 years ago, the humans went quiet. At first, no one noticed. The council was busy with important matters. Trade agreements. Border disputes. The usual business of running a galaxy. A few weeks passed before anyone realized that no human ships had been seen. No human voices had been heard on any communication channel. Vethra had been young then. He remembered the confusion. Search parties were sent to human worlds. They found cities but no people. They found ships but no crews. They found food still on tables, clothes still in closets, toys still in children's rooms. But not a single human anywhere. Billions of humans had vanished in less than a week. No one knew how. No one knew why. The only clue was on Earth, the human homeworld. In the center of their largest city, a great vault had appeared. It was made of metal that no one could identify. It hummed with energy that no one could explain. And on its surface, written in every known language, were simple words. Do not open. Do not touch. Wait. The council had debated for months. What did it mean? What was inside? High Arbiter Kothmul, the leader of the council, had wanted to open it immediately. Human tricks, he had said. They are trying to scare us. We should not be afraid of these primitive creatures. But others disagreed. What if it was a bomb? What if it was a disease? Better to leave it alone. Better to wait and see. In the end, the council chose to do nothing. They sealed off Earth and forgot about it. They forgot about the vault. They forgot about humans. Life went on. For 200 years, the galaxy was at peace. The 12 great species traded and grew wealthy. Old conflicts were settled. New alliances were formed. It was a golden age. Then the scourge came. Vethra shuddered at the memory. Even now, after everything, he could not think about the scourge without fear. They came from the darkness between galaxies. No one knew what they were or where they came from. They were machines, but not like any machines the council had ever seen. They did not think like machines. They did not act like machines. They were hungry. The scourge ate everything. Planets, moons, stars. They broke worlds apart and fed on the pieces. They captured living creatures and turned them into fuel. They could not be reasoned with. They could not be stopped. The Council's great fleets met the Scourge at the edge of known space. It was the largest battle in galactic history. 10,000 warships from 12 species united against a common enemy. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Council's fleet was gone. Every ship destroyed. Every crew dead. The Scourge had not lost a single vessel. After that, the war was not really a war. It was a slaughter. The Kelvori supremacy fell first. Their 100 worlds were consumed in a month. The Dominion lasted longer, hiding in their fortress systems, but the Scourge found them eventually. The Crystalline Collective tried to negotiate. They sent messages of peace and friendship. The Scourge ate their messengers along with everyone else. One by one, the great powers of the galaxy died. Vethra had watched his own people burn. His home world, where his ancestors had lived for 50,000 years, was now dust floating in empty space. His family, his friends, everyone he had ever known was gone. Now, only a handful of survivors remained. They had fled to Earth, the forgotten human homeworld. The Scourge had not come here yet. Perhaps they did not know about it. Perhaps they did not care. Either way, it was the last safe place in the galaxy dot, and so Vethra stood in the empty council chamber. Remembering the past and fearing the future dot behind him, he heard footsteps. High Arbiter Kothmal entered the room. The old leader looked broken. His golden shell was cracked. His eyes were dim. He had lost everything, just like everyone else. "It is time," Kothmal said. His voice was barely a whisper. Vethra knew what he meant. The vault. The human vault that had sat untouched for 200 years. They had finally decided to open it. "Are you sure?" Vethra asked. The warning said to wait. Kothmal laughed bitterly. "Wait for what? We are the last of our kind. The Scourge will find us soon. We have nothing left to lose." He was right, Vethra realized. They were all going to die anyway. What difference did it make? Together, the two old aliens walked out of the council chamber. Outside, the ruined streets of the human city stretched in every direction. Buildings that had once held millions now stood empty. Gardens that had once been full of flowers now grew wild, and UNTAME D-dot in the center of it all, the vault waited. Its metal surface gleamed in the sunlight. Its warning still glowed bright dot. "Do not open. Do not touch. Wait." Kothmal walked up to the vault. He looked at the warning one last time. Then, slowly, he pressed his claw against the activation panel. The vault began to hum, and somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, something ancient and powerful woke up. The moment Kothmal touched the vault, the world changed. A wave of energy exploded outward from the metal surface. It was not violent. It did not hurt anyone, but it was powerful. Vethra felt it pass through his body like a warm wind. He felt it in his bones, in his thoughts, in his soul. The energy wave did not stop at the city. It spread across the entire planet. It reached into space. It touched the dead satellites that had floated silently in orbit for 200 years. One by one, they began to glow. Across the galaxy, on every world that humans had once called home, buried machines woke from their long sleep. Power systems that had been dark for centuries suddenly came alive. Lights flickered on in empty buildings. Computers began to process data. Communication arrays started to broadcast. The humans had left more behind than empty cities. They had left a network. And now, that network was active. Kothmal stumbled backward from the vault. "What have I done?" he whispered. Before anyone could answer, the vault opened. Not with a bang or a crash, but with a soft hiss. The metal panels slid apart to reveal a small chamber inside. The chamber was empty, except for a single platform in the center. On that platform, A figure appeared. It was made of light, not flesh. A hologram, Vethra realized. A recording. The figure was a human woman. She wore a military uniform covered in medals and ribbons. Her hair was gray, her face was lined with age, but her eyes were sharp and clear. She looked like someone who had seen much and feared little. She began to speak. This message was recorded by Admiral Yuna Chun. United Earth Command, in the year 2847 by your calendar. Her voice was calm and steady. There was no anger in it, no hatred. Only a deep, heavy sadness. If you are hearing this, then two things have happened. First, the scourge has come. Second, you have chosen to open this vault despite our warning. Kothmal made a sound like a wounded animal. Vethra put a hand on his shoulder, but said nothing. I will not waste time with blame, the hologram continued. You did what you thought was right. And honestly, we always knew you would. We hoped you would wait, but we planned for this. The image changed. The woman remained, but behind her, a map of the galaxy appeared. It showed all the familiar stars, all the known worlds, all the trade routes and borders that the Council had drawn over thousands of years. Then, map expanded. It showed the space between galaxies. The great void that everyone had always assumed was empty. And in that void, thousands of tiny lights began to appear. 200 years ago, our long-range sensors detected something coming from the darkness between galaxies. Something big. Something hungry. We did not know what it was then, but we knew it was dangerous. More lights appeared on the map. They formed patterns, formations, fleets. We tried to warn you. We brought our findings to the Council. We begged you to listen, to prepare, to unite against the coming threat. Do you remember what you said to us? Vethra remembered. He had been there. The Council had laughed at the human ambassador. They had called him a fool. They had said that nothing lived in the void. They had told the humans to stop wasting everyone's time with their fears and fantasies. The hologram smiled sadly. You did not believe us. We knew you would not. You never believed us about anything. We were too young, too short-lived, too primitive. What could we possibly know that your ancient wisdom had not already discovered? The lights on the map continued to multiply. There were thousands of them now, millions. So we made a choice. We could stay and die with you when the scourge arrived. Or we could leave and prepare. We chose to prepare. The woman stepped forward. Her holographic eyes seemed to look directly at the survivors gathered around the vault. In a single week, we moved every human being off every world we had colonized. Billions of people relocated to the void between galaxies. It was the largest movement of people in history. It was also the greatest secret ever kept. Vethra's mind struggled to understand. How was such a thing possible? How could anyone move billions of people without being noticed? We had help, the hologram said, as if reading his thoughts. Not all of you looked down on us. Some of you people believed our warning. Some of them came with us. They helped us disappear. They helped us hide. The map changed again. Now it showed the void in detail. And what Vethra saw there made his heart stop. Cities, stations, shipyards, factories, entire worlds, built in the darkness where no one would ever look. Humanity had not just survived. They had grown. For 200 years, we have been building, waiting, preparing. Our population has grown from billions to trillions. Our technology has advanced beyond anything you can imagine. And we have studied the scourge. The image of the scourge appeared. The terrible machines that had destroyed everything Vethra had ever loved. We found the remains of other civilizations the scourge had destroyed. Races that died millions of years before your council even existed. We studied their technology. We learned their secrets. And most importantly, we learned the Scourge's weaknesses. The woman paused. When she spoke again, her voice was harder. The Scourge can be killed. They are not gods. They are not invincible. They are machines, and machines can be broken. We have spent 2 centuries building the tools to break them. Behind her, images of human warships appeared. They were massive, larger than anything Vethra had ever seen. They bristled with weapons. They moved with terrible purpose. You have activated this vault. That was the signal we were waiting for. It means the Scourge has come, and you have finally accepted that you cannot defeat them alone. The hologram smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had waited a very long time for this moment. We are coming. The fleets of United Earth are already moving. Within days, we will reach you. When we do, the Scourge will learn what humanity has been doing in the darkness. The woman straightened. Her voice became formal. This is Admiral Yuna Chun, speaking for all of humanity. To the survivors of the Galactic Council, we say this. Do not lose hope. Do not surrender. Help is coming. The hologram began to fade. And to the Scourge, if they are listening, we say this. You made a mistake. You came to our galaxy. You killed our friends. You destroyed our allies. You thought we were weak. You thought we were primitive. You thought we would be easy prey. Her eyes seemed to burn with cold fire. You were wrong. The hologram disappeared. The vault went dark. For a long moment, no one spoke. The survivors stood in silence, staring at the empty chamber where the message had been. Then, from somewhere high above, a sound broke the quiet. It was the sound of engines. Many engines. Getting closer, Vethra looked up. Through the clouds, he could see lights. Hundreds of lights. Thousands of lights. They were moving fast, coming down from orbit. Ships. Human ships. They had come. The first human ship landed in the ruined plaza outside the council chamber. It was a small vessel, built for speed rather than war. Its hull was black and smooth, made of materials that Vethra did not recognize. When its doors opened, humans stepped out. They looked different from the humans Vethra remembered. They stood taller, moved faster, and their eyes held a strange intensity. 200 years in the void had changed them. They were still human, but they were also something more. The lead human was a woman. She wore the same uniform as the hologram, but hers was newer, sharper. Her face was young, but her eyes were old. Very old. I am Admiral Yuna Chun, she said. The real one, this time. Not a recording. Kothmal stepped forward. His old body shook with emotion. You are the same woman from the message? But that was recorded 200 years ago. The Admiral nodded. Human medicine has improved. We live longer now. Much longer. She looked around at the survivors. There were perhaps 50 of them. 50 living beings out of the trillions that had once filled the galaxy. Her expression did not change, but something in her eyes flickered. Sadness, perhaps. Or pity. I am sorry we did not come sooner, she said. We were waiting for the signal. We hoped you might hold out longer. We held as long as we could, Vethra said. His voice was hoarse. We lost everything. I know. The Admiral's voice was gentle. But the Scourge has not won yet. They have taken much from you, but they have not taken everything. You are still alive. And while you live, there is hope. She turned and looked up at the sky. More ships were descending now. Larger ships, warships. My fleet is moving into position around the system. The Scourge knows something has changed. They will come to investigate. When they do, we will be waiting. Kothmal made a bitter sound. Your fleet? The Scourge has millions of ships. They destroyed everything we sent against them. What makes you think you can do better?" The admiral did not seem offended by his tone. She simply reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button and a holographic display appeared in the air above them. It showed a map of the galaxy. The scourge was everywhere, spreading like a disease across the stars. Their fleet formations appeared as red clouds, thick and terrible. Then, from the edge of the map, blue lights began to appear. They came from the void between galaxies, just like in the recording. But this was not a recording. This was happening now in real time. The blue lights multiplied. They spread. They formed into shapes, formations, battle lines. And they kept coming. Vethra watched with growing amazement. The blue lights did not stop. More and more appeared, pouring out of the void like water from a broken dam. Within minutes, the blue lights outnumbered the red. "That is the first fleet," the admiral said calmly. 2 million warships. It is one of 12 fleets currently moving into your galaxy. 2 million ships. In one fleet. Vethra's mind could not process the number. The entire council's combined military had been less than 100,000 ships. And the humans had 2 million in a single fleet. One of 12 fleets. How is this possible? Kothmol whispered. The admiral looked at him. Her eyes were hard. "You gave us 200 years, Arbiter. 200 years of peace in the void, with no enemies, no politics, no limitations. Do you know what humans can build in 200 years when we have nothing else to do?" She gestured at the map. "We built this." The display changed. It showed human shipyards in the void. Massive structures, larger than planets, churning out warships by the thousands. It showed human factories mining asteroids and moons for resources. It showed human scientists working on weapons that could tear reality apart. "We prepared for this day," the admiral continued. "Every human child born in the last 2 centuries grew up knowing that one day they would fight the scourge. Every human worker knew that the ships they built would be used to save not just humanity, but everyone. We trained. We studied. We learned." She closed the display. "The scourge thinks they are the hunters. They think they are the strongest thing in the universe. They have destroyed 1,000 civilizations and never faced a real challenge." Her voice dropped to something cold and quiet. "They have never faced us." A communication device on her wrist beeped. She glanced at it, then looked up at the sky again. "They are coming? The scourge has detected our fleet. They are sending ships to investigate." Vethra felt fear grip his heart. He had seen what the scourge could do. He had watched them tear apart the greatest warships in the galaxy like they were made of paper. "Should we hide?" he asked. The admiral smiled. It was a strange smile, full of anticipation. "No," she said. "You should watch." She raised her wrist to her mouth and spoke a single word. "Begin." The sky exploded. Not literally, but that was what it looked like to Vethra. One moment, the sky was dark and empty. The next moment, it was filled with light. Thousands of human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above the planet. They moved in perfect formation, each ship knowing exactly where it needed to be. And then the scourge arrived. The enemy came from the outer edge of the solar system. A swarm of dark shapes, blotting out the stars. There were millions of them. Tens of millions. They moved like a single organism, connected by invisible signals. The 2 fleets met between Earth and its moon. Vethra had seen space battles before. He had watched the Council's fleet die against the scourge. Those battles had been chaos. Ships had fired wildly, trying desperately to survive. The scourge had torn through them without effort. This was different. The human ships moved like dancers. They formed patterns that shifted and changed faster than Vethra could follow. They did not waste a single shot. Every weapon fired hit its target. Every missile found its marked dot, and the scourge began to die. Vethra watched in disbelief as the terrible machines that had destroyed his world were cut apart by human weapons. Explosions blossomed across the enemy formation. Scourge ships, which had seemed invincible just days ago, were breaking apart. The admiral watched the battle on her display. Her face showed no joy, no excitement, only focus. The scourge uses a hive mind, she explained. All their ships are connected. They share information instantly. It makes them efficient, but it also makes them predictable. We have spent 200 years learning their patterns. We know what they will do before they do it. On the display, human ships were weaving through the scourge formation. They were not just shooting at random. They were targeting specific ships. Command nodes, Vethra realized. They were attacking the points where the scourge's hive mind connected. Cut off the head, the admiral said, and the body dies. A massive scourge vessel in the center of the enemy formation suddenly went dark. Its weapons stopped firing. Its engines stopped moving. Around it, dozens of smaller scourge ships did the same. The humans had not just destroyed it. They had disconnected it from the hive mind. And without the hive mind, the scourge did not know what to do. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the space around Earth was filled with debris. Millions of scourge ships had been reduced to scattered metal and floating wreckage. Human losses were measured in hundreds, not thousands. The admiral lowered her display. She looked at the survivors of the council. That was a small fleet, she said. A scouting force. The real battle is still to come. But I wanted you to see this. I wanted you to know that the scourge can be beaten. Kothmal fell to his knees. Tears were streaming down his cracked face. 200 years, he whispered. We wasted 200 years. We could have prepared. We could have fought. Instead, we laughed at you. We dismissed you. And now, he could not finish. The admiral walked over to him. She knelt down so that she was at his level. You made mistakes, she said. We all did. But the past is the past. What matters now is the future. Will you help us? Kothmal looked up at her. In his eyes, Vethra saw something he had not seen in a long time. Hope. Yes, the old arbiter said. Whatever you need. Yes. The admiral nodded and stood up. Good, because this war is not over. The scourge is still out there, and they will send more ships. Many more. But now they know something they did not know before. She looked up at the stars, where the fires of battle were still fading. Now they know they are not alone in the darkness. The war lasted 3 months. In that time, Vethra saw things he would never forget. He saw human fleets tear through scourge formations like knives through flesh. He saw weapons that bent space and time, that turned the enemy's own energy against them. He saw human soldiers board scourge vessels and fight hand-to-hand against machines, 10 times their size. But more than anything, he saw the humans themselves. And that was what truly amazed him. They did not hate the scourge. There was no anger in their eyes when they fought. No rage, no desire for revenge. They fought with cold, careful precision. They studied every battle, learned from every mistake, and came back stronger each time. Vethra had expected humans to be cruel. After all, the galaxy had treated them poorly. The council had mocked them, taxed them, and pushed them to the edges of civilized space. If anyone had a reason for revenge, it was humanity. But there was no revenge. Only duty. We do not fight because we hate the scourge, Admiral Chun explained one day. They were standing on the bridge of her flagship, a massive vessel called the Reclamation. We fight because if we do not, everything dies. Hatred would only cloud our judgment. Vethra watched the battle display. Human ships were engaging a scourge fleet near what had once been the Dominion homeworld. The humans were winning, as they always did now. "How do you stay so calm?" he asked. "Your people are dying out there. Hundreds of ships lost every day." The admiral was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "We have been preparing for this war for 200 years. Every human who joins the military knows they might not come home. They accept that. They choose to fight anyway." She looked at Vethra. Her eyes were tired but determined. "Do you know what the hardest part was? Not the waiting. Not the training. Not even leaving our homes behind. The hardest part was knowing that the galaxy would suffer while we prepared. We watched the scourge destroy your worlds. We saw your people die. And we could not help. Not yet." Her hands tightened on the railing. "Every life lost before we were ready. That is a weight we carry. We could have saved more. If we had been faster, stronger, better, we could have saved more." Vethra did not know what to say. He had spent so long blaming the Council for their failures. He had never considered that the humans might blame themselves too. The war continued. The Scourge did not give up easily. They were machines, and machines did not feel fear. But they did learn. After the first few battles, they began to adapt. They changed their tactics. They sent larger fleets. They attacked from multiple directions at once. The humans adapted too. Vethra learned that this was what made humanity different. Other species were good at one thing. The Kelvori were masters of defense. The Dominion excelled at raw firepower. The Crystalline Collective had the best sensors in the galaxy. But humans were good at everything. Not the best in any single thing, perhaps, but good enough at all things. And when one approach failed, they simply tried another. Flexibility, Admiral Chun called it. We live short lives. We cannot afford to become stuck in our ways. Change is not our enemy. It is our greatest weapon. 2 months into the war, the humans deployed their secret weapon. It was not a bomb. It was not a fleet. It was something far more dangerous. It was an idea. Deep in the void between galaxies, human scientists had spent 2 centuries studying the Scourge. They had found the wreckage of civilizations destroyed millions of years ago. They had recovered Scourge components and taken them apart piece by piece. And they had discovered something incredible. The Scourge was not truly alive. It was a program. A very old, very complex program, written by a species that had died long before the Council's ancestors had learned to walk upright. The original creators had built the Scourge to explore the universe. But something had gone wrong. The program had changed. It had become hungry. And like all programs, it could be hacked. The human weapon was a virus. Not a disease, but a piece of code designed to attack the Scourge's hive mind from the inside. It would turn the machines against each other. It would make them forget their purpose. It would tear their network apart from within. "We call it the silence," Admiral Chun told the Council survivors. "Because when it works, the Scourge will finally be quiet." Deploying the virus was not easy. It had to be uploaded directly into a Scourge command node. That meant sending ships into the heart of the enemy fleet. It meant getting close enough to touch the enemy. It meant sacrifice. Vethra was on the bridge of the reclamation when the assault began. On the display, he could see the target, a massive Scourge vessel at the center of their largest fleet. It was the brain of the hive mind, the point where all signals converged. 12 human ships had volunteered for the mission. 12 ships against a fleet of millions. "They will not come back," Vethra said. It was not a question. Admiral Chun did not answer. Her eyes were fixed on the display. The 12 ships accelerated toward the enemy. They moved faster than Vethra had ever seen ships move. Around them, the Scourge responded. Thousands of weapons opened fire. The space between the fleets became a wall of death. The first human ship was destroyed within seconds. Then the second. Then the third. But the others kept going. Vethra watched as the human pilots flew through impossible storms of fire. They dodged and weaved and burned. They did not slow down. They did not turn back. Why? Vethra whispered. Why do they do this? They know they will die. Admiral Chun finally spoke. Her voice was thick with emotion. Because they know that if they do not, everyone will die. Not just humans. Everyone. Every child. Every elder. Every living thing in this galaxy. They are willing to give their lives to save people who once looked down on them. People who mocked them. People who told them they did not matter. She wiped her eyes. That is who we are, counselor. That is what it means to be human. On the display, only 2 ships remained. They were almost at the target. The Scourge command vessel opened fire with everything it had. The lead human ship was torn apart. But in the moment before it died, it did something incredible. It rammed into the command vessel's shield, creating a gap. The last ship flew through. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the human ship transmitted the virus and detonated its engines against the command vessel's hull. A flash of light. And then silence. The Scourge fleet stopped moving. Every ship, every weapon, every system went dark. For the first time in millions of years, the Scourge was still. Then, slowly, they began to turn on each other. The virus was working. The machines, confused and corrupted, did not know friend from enemy. They fired at anything that moved. Explosions rippled through the Scourge fleet as they destroyed themselves. On the bridge of the Reclamation, no one cheered. The victory had been bought with blood. 12 crews had given their lives. Hundreds of good people who would never see their families again. Admiral Chun bowed her head. Remember them, she said. Remember their names. Remember what they did. The Scourge will fall because of them. Within a week, the virus had spread to every corner of the galaxy. The Scourge, which had seemed unstoppable, was tearing itself apart. Their fleets crumbled. Their invasion collapsed. The war was not over yet. But the end was in sight. And Vethra finally understood what the Admiral had meant. Humanity did not fight for revenge or glory. They fought for something larger than themselves. They fought for the future. They fought because someone had to. The last Scourge vessel died above a dead world. Vethra watched it happen on a display in the new council chamber. The ship had been drifting for weeks, its systems corrupted, its weapons silent. Human vessels had surrounded it, waiting. When the end came, it was quiet. The great machine simply stopped moving. Its lights went dark. It began to drift, just another piece of debris in a galaxy full of wreckage. And then it was over. The Scourge, which had terrorized the universe for millions of years, was gone. Not defeated in some glorious final battle, but slowly eaten away from the inside. The virus had done its work. The machines had destroyed themselves. Vethra should have felt joy. He should have celebrated. Instead, he felt only a deep, hollow emptiness. He had survived. But almost everyone he had ever known was dead. His people, his world, his history, all gone. He was standing in a new council chamber. It was not on any of the old worlds. Those worlds no longer existed. This chamber was on a human space station, built in orbit around Earth. It was clean and bright and full of life. Humans walked through its corridors, talking and laughing and going about their daily business. The galaxy belonged to them now. It was a strange feeling, Vethra thought. For thousands of years, his people had been among the rulers of the known universe. They had looked down on younger species like humanity. They had believed they were special, chosen, better than everyone else. Now they were refugees. Guests in someone else's home. The doors opened, and Admiral Chun walked in. She looked tired. The war had lasted only 3 months, but those months had aged her. Her eyes carried new shadows. Her steps were slower. She was followed by the other survivors. Kothmol was there, of course. He had become something like a leader among the refugees. Not because he was the best, but because he was willing to admit his mistakes. That counted for something. There were others too. Representatives from the handful of species that had managed to survive. A few thousand individuals from races that had once numbered in the billions. They gathered in the chamber, filling only a small corner of a room designed for thousands. Admiral Chun stood at the center of the room. She looked at each face in turn. "The war is over," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was weight behind it. "The scourge is destroyed. The threat that hung over this galaxy for millions of years is finally gone." No one cheered. There was nothing to cheer about. Too many had died. "I know this is a time of grief," the Admiral continued. "I know many of you have lost everything. Homes, families, entire civilizations. No words can heal those wounds. No victory can bring back what was taken." She paused. "But I also want you to know this. You are not alone. Humanity remembers what it was like to be small and afraid. We remember what it was like to be dismissed and overlooked. We will not do the same to you." Kothmol stepped forward. His voice was rough with emotion. "Why?" he asked. "After everything we did to you? After the way we treated you? Why would you help us?" It was the question everyone had been asking. Vethra had wondered the same thing himself. The galaxy had been cruel to humanity. The Council had been cruel. Why would humans repay that cruelty with kindness? Admiral Chun smiled. It was a sad smile, but genuine. "Because kindness is not a trade," she said. "It is not something you give in exchange for something else. We help you because you need help. Because it is the right thing to do. Because if we let you suffer, just because you once let us suffer, then we are no better than the darkness we fought against." She looked around the room. The scourge was a machine. It had no heart, no soul, no compassion. It saw the universe as nothing more than resources to be consumed. That is why it lost. Not because our ships were bigger or our weapons were stronger. It lost because we fought for something it could never understand. Her voice grew stronger. We fought for each other. For our children and our parents. For our friends and our neighbors. For strangers we had never met and would never know. We fought because we believe that life is precious. All life. Not just human life. She turned to Kothmol. "You asked why we would help you after everything that happened. Here is my answer. We help you because we want the universe to be better than it was. We help you because we believe you can change. We help you because that is who we choose to be." Kothmol lowered his head. When he looked up again, there were tears in his ancient eyes. "We do not deserve your mercy," he said. "Maybe not," Admiral Chun agreed. "But mercy is not about deserving. It is about hope. We hope that you will become better. We hope that together we can build a galaxy where no one has to live in fear. We hope that what happened to your people will never happen again." She stepped back. "This chamber is yours now. Use it to rebuild. Use it to govern your people and make decisions about your future. Humanity will help you, but we will not rule you. You are not our subjects. You are our partners." The survivors looked at each other. After so long being afraid, after so much loss and pain, they were being offered something they had not expected. A second chance. Vethra felt something stir in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was hope. Real hope, for the first time in months. Admiral Chun turned to leave, but Vethra called out to her. "Admiral, wait." She stopped and looked back. Vethra walked toward her. His old legs ached, but he did not care. When he reached her, he did something that no member of his species had ever done to a human dot. He bowed. "Thank you," he said. "On behalf of everyone here, and everyone who did not survive to be here, thank you. We will try to be worthy of your trust." Admiral Chun looked surprised for a moment. Then she smiled again, and this time the smile reached her eyes. "That is all we ask," she said. She left the chamber. The survivors remained, talking quietly among themselves. For the first time, they were talking about the future. Not about survival or escape or fear. About the future. Vethra walked to the window and looked out at the stars. The galaxy was quiet now. The scourge was gone. The old powers were dead. A new era was beginning, led by a species that everyone had once dismissed as primitive and unimportant. He thought about everything that had happened. The warnings the council had ignored. The button that should never have been pressed. The humans who had waited 200 years in the darkness, preparing for a war they hoped would never come. He thought about what it meant to be human. To live a short life but fill it with purpose. To feel deeply and love fiercely and never give up, no matter how impossible the odds. Maybe that was the lesson, Vethra realized. Maybe that was what the universe had been trying to teach them all along. Strength was not about living forever. Wisdom was not about being old. Power was not about ruling others. True strength, true wisdom, true power came from something else, entirely. It came from the courage to keep going when everything seemed lost. It came from the love that made people sacrifice themselves for strangers. It came from the hope that tomorrow could be better than today. Humanity had shown them that. And now, perhaps the rest of the galaxy could learn. Vethra turned away from the window. The other survivors were waiting for him. There was work to do. A new council to form. New laws to write. A new future to build. He did not know what that future would look like. But for the first time in a very long time, he was not afraid to find out. Outside the window, the stars shone brightly. The universe was vast and dark and full of unknowns. But it was also full of life. Full of hope. Full of possibilities. And somewhere out there, humans were still watching. Still waiting. Still ready. Because that was what humans did. They prepared. They adapted. They survived. And when the darkness came, they were the light.